It's my pleasure to be here today. I'm very honored to give the last of these presentations. This is a joint research with Anna Abalkina, who is an economist at the Freie University in Berlin, with Cyril Labbé, who is a computer scientist from the University of Grenoble in France. He's sitting over there. And also Alexander Magazinov, who is a mathematician and a software engineer in Yandex Moscow. Myself, Guillaume Cavanac, I'm a computer scientist at the University of Toulouse. We are very concerned about the improper legitimization of hijacked journals through citations. So let me tell you about these hijacked journals. They've been around since, let's say, 10 years. And these are fake websites that impersonate established journals by copying the titles and the ISSNs and metadata of established journals. So to ease the communication, I will say established journals here and hijacked journals there near the gutter. So these hijacked journals, they are multidisciplinary and author-pay open access journals. It is documented that there is a lack of peer review. So the products that end up in these hijacked journals are of very low quality, and they feature dishonest research practices. So they shouldn't exist at all, and they shouldn't be cited at all. I'm sure that everybody agrees. So let me show you an example of what is an hijacked journal. So this is an original journal. It's called Linguistica Antwerpiensa. At some point, it stopped operating. So this is a screen capture from 2008. And the internet domain wasn't used anymore until somebody else used this internet domain to create a clone website by copying part of the explanations of the topic, the scope, and so on, and by trying to attract authors and to publish for a fee. So in this new clone website, that is an hijacked journal, you will not find something about linguistics. You will find things about skin disease or plant disease or the Kazakh literature, so not linguistics. In this abstract, we coined this term hijacked articles. So it means that established journals publish papers that cite these hijacked journals that are unreliable piece of information and that shouldn't be cited at all. So in this study, we wanted to know the prevalence of these hijacked articles. Can we find in the elite haute couture publisher catalog papers citing these hijacked journals? So we came up with a very simple design. We started by taking 12 hijacked journals that have been studied by Anna Abalkina that were indexed by mistake in international scientometric databases. So somehow they managed to sneak in. And these 12 are part of a larger group of hundreds of hijacked journals. Then we developed a new detector at the problematic paper screener in order to screen the literature using dimensions by using fingerprints. So we are searching for fingerprints like in a crime scene. And for us, the fingerprints are the titles of these hijacked journals. We set the time period between January 2021 and January 2022 and selected the document type as article. Then our experts, Anna Abalkina and Alexander Magazinov, reviewed the results. So in these papers that contain the title of a hijacked journals, you could find references to the proper established journal or to the hijacked journal. And this was the the assessment that was done by our two colleagues. So starting today, you can go to the problematic paper screener and check this detector called Hijacked. There are other detectors. There are 8 detectors in total. One of the most maybe useful is tortured phrases. You might have heard about it. It lists the papers that use tortured phrases instead of established phrases, like counterfeit consciousness in a paper instead of artificial intelligence, or kidney disappointment instead of kidney failure in a published paper. It's real. And so this is the Hijacked detector, the new one that we created. So you can see that many publishers appear. There are top cited papers that cite these hijacked papers. Sometimes many references from different hijacked journals. You can see the assessor who did the evaluation, and also a link to PubPeer, because these papers sometimes have other kinds of issues. So we haven't started yet putting on PubPeer comments about these hijacked journals, but we'll do that next week. And this is public information. Anybody can check this problematic paper screener. So the results of the querying of dimensions now, we find 1,421 results, so articles, and then the experts had to check if this article was citing the proper established version, established journal, or a paper that appeared in a hijacked journal. So roughly 60% cited a paper published by a hijacked journal, so unreliable information that shouldn't happen at all. And we found this this phenomenon in 67 publishers. So now the breakdown by publisher. So we can see that the elite, the haute couture of the publishing industry is concerned by this problem. Some of them have more than 100 papers citing unreliable information after peer review. And the red line shows the share of the published papers in 2021 that are concerned by the sitejacking. We move to conclusions now. So roughly speaking, there are 2 hijacked articles that were published in 2021 a day in established journals. It's quite concerning, and I would invite the publishers to go and check on the problematic paper screener to reassess the papers because they are citing unreliable information. Some hijacked journals, we found that they get even more cited by the original counterparts. And we view these hijacked papers as a way to legitimize articles that cite unreliable information, and that shouldn't be occurring. And we advise publishers to check and try to depollute or reassess these kind of papers. So I would like to thank Dimensions for their support. They've been supporting the problematic paper screener since February 2021 with a no-cost agreement for research in scientometrics. Thank you, and thank you for your attention for this last talk.
Thank you very much for taking us through that. Unfortunately, not the most optimistic talk of the meeting.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
We need to smile.
Yeah. So I think we're having Anna join us. Is that right? So people can start coming to the mics if they have. Are we getting the Anna on the
Anna is connected
screen?
from Europe.
Yes, there's Anna. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's just go around. Let's start at the front here again.
Hi, I'm Nihar Shah. I'm in the Equipment Understanding Department at Carnegie Mellon University. It was machine learning, tortured free. So yeah, question like when a legitimate article cites a hijacked journal article, like have you looked at why they're citing? It could be that it's just saying, hey, this is another paper on a related topic, but it's a terrible paper and everything's wrong.
Maybe I can let Anna respond.
The reasons why different papers cite hijacked journals are different. So one of the reasons is the methods that papers use in their studies. For example, we found, for example, some studies that searched for papers in Scopus or Google Scholar. And because of the fact that hijacked journals succeed to index their papers in legitimate databases and also in Google Scholar. So it's evident that some scholars are not able to distinguish papers from hijacked journal and original journal. And it is possible that scholars just read the title without reading the paper. This is one reason. Another reason is, as per what we can see, some problematic papers cite hijacked journals because there is evidence that hijacked journals, they collaborate a lot with broker companies and paper mills because they need to attract a lot of clients during short period of time. For example, a successful hijacked journal can publish 2,000–3,000 papers during several months. So what kind of journal can have so many submissions? Unknown, absolutely unknown website. And so there is evidence that there are a kind of a citation networks. It's possible to find the same exact phrases in different papers. So we suspect, we hypothesize that some problematic papers that were submitted by broker companies or paper mills could cite hijacked journals. And that is why we are very disappointed and ask publishers to reassess such papers that cite hijacked journals.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And at the back?
Well, thank you, Jennifer Byrne from Sydney. I'm interested in whether you know how long these journals have been hijacked. Like, when did it start? Are they hijacked for long periods? Do they sit there putting out papers over, is it months or years? Do you know that?
Yes, we know it. It is very easy to learn about it because normally hijacked journal is a scam web domain. So we just need to look when this web domain was registered. And so that's why we know when exactly the hijacked journal started to work. Maybe it is possible that some web domains were registered during the same day because big networks of hijacked journals can be registered just during the same day, and then they wait when the journal starts to operate. But anyway, more or less, we know the date, yes.
I guess it's interesting because journals can be hijacked in another way. They can have special issues hijacked by guest editors. So I suppose that's another methodology, but I might leave it there. Thank you. That was great talk.
We seem to have lost. Well, let's go ahead back there, but it seems like we may have. No, there we go. Okay.
Hi, Mario Malichka, Stanford University. I was just thinking on the author's side, did you think of maybe creating a database of these articles and sort of sharing it with Zotero or Mendeley, that they alert authors like they do for retracted papers?
I'm not sure I understand the question, sorry.
So right now, if you're an author and writing a paper and inserting references in a document, if you use Otero or Mendeley, they alert you if a paper has been retracted. And that is based on Retraction Watch database. But in theory, as we as publishers or editors, if you create a list of all these fake articles and they add it to a similar database, that we could maybe alert authors that these are hijacked, fake papers in hijacked journals.
Retraction
It's a
Watch.
dream. It's a dream to do that. Yes, it would be fantastic to do. It's a big work because now in partnership with the Retraction Watch, we do Retraction Watch Hijacked Journal Checker, and now there are hijacked journals since 2020, and there are more than 150 journals. So it's quite a big work to do, but it's a dream for sure. Yes.
I think we have one more question up here.
First of all, a comment to the previous message. So Terra actually has, as I'm talking to a computer scientist, an XBI plugin system. And so you have a website, so it wouldn't be too hard. It's open source, so it wouldn't be too hard to actually make a plugin for Terra that scans for the title of the journal and then maybe flags it. So I don't think that's a lot of work. My question is, like, in astrophysics, we don't have this because we have very few, we're a very tight community. But I'm wondering, the authors, I mean, what Anna was reporting on Monday, the authors were clearly also perpetrators. It was a paper mills and the authors. But in this case, are the authors being scammed that participate in this, or are they also perpetrators and are trying to put papers in there that are just not up to scientific rigor?
You mean the authors of hijacked journals who select some references and add them?
I'm trying to figure out, there was a discussion about incentive structures, like how can we remove incentive structures that, I don't know, would kill these journals?
Yeah, I don't really know. Maybe some authors are paid to insert some references, or when we read PubPeer, there is a suspicion of manipulation during the workflow, editorial workflow, where maybe typesetters would add some references with the authors not knowing afterwards. So there are some comments like that on PubPeer, and maybe that's part of it.
What about the original papers published in the hijacked journals? Are those authors aware that that's not a real journal?
Anna has some stories.
I did a study. I did a study about how original are papers published in hijacked journals, and I manually checked about 1,000 papers, and the level of originality is quite low and there are papers with a lot of signs of academic misconduct, like plagiarism, fabrication of data, authorship problems, because it could be the text was published before by two authors, and then this text in large parts were taken by one co-author, and he added the second one, dropping the first one. So there are a lot of authorship games. Actually, for sure, what kind of conclusion we can make that the journals without serious barriers of peer review attract dishonest authors. But there is, I try to speak with some authors who actually submitted papers to the hijacked journals. None of them, I didn't speak with a lot of them, but none of them was aware of that. There is also a problem to say something about the dishonesty of authors when the level of plagiarism is quite low, because in this case it can be the situation when authors, they don't aware of academic ethics practice. But anyway, we can say that hijacked journals, they attract dishonest authors. Okay. In some cases, when the journal is indexed in Scopus, for example, it's possible to see there is an added evidence that authors submitted the paper and then they retracted it. So possibly we can hypothesize that these are original studies. And what is also important, what I would like to say for the community, that papers in hijacked journals are not considered to be published because there is no review, and hijacked journals are actually not journals. And that is why if there is original study submitted erroneously to hijacked journals, so original journals should not punish then authors if authors would like to submit the same paper to a normal journal, because the previous one publication is not a publication actually.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think, thank you very much. And
Thank
I
you.
think that brings us to the end.